What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for coming back and joining me for season 2 of the Borussia Dortmund rebuild. If you're with us for the first episode, you'd have seen that we kicked things off, moved to the end of the first season and brought the first of the new faces into the club. We also lost a few players along the way, but it meant that we are stepping in the right direction for the rebuild, bringing in the types of players that we are going to both develop and possibly sell on or keep if we can manage it correctly. In today's episode, we are going to be looking at Season 2 as we look to retain our Bundesliga crown. Here we go, we have pushed forwards. It's the 1st of June 2024 and that means that Season 2 is now in the history books. As always, we're going to kick things off with the transfers. I'm going to show you everything that happened for us in the 23-24 transfer market. We have had players leave the club. We have also gone out and spent money to replace them. So we're going to start off on the right hand side and show you the players that have left first. The first player that left the club was Rafael Guerreiro. We got in a bit of a contract standoff with him. Kept offering him contracts. He was knocking them back. There was interest in him from other clubs. Couldn't sell him on for a cash value, but he agreed a deal with PSG in January to move to them in the summer. And that is the one that happened first. A bit unfortunate for him to move on when he did. 30 years old, he was quite experienced, he was decent all up and down the left hand side of the pitch, so it's going to be difficult to go out and replace a player like that, but we will give it a go. We also let Anthony Modeste leave on a free transfer. 36-year-old striker has gone to Lyon, one that he has decent enough stats for what you would probably need him for, but he doesn't fit in with the ethos of what we're doing at the club, so he was allowed to move on. We didn't renew his contract. We let Thomas Meunier go out on loan to Rayo Vallecano. He was a player who was just basically being disruptive, wouldn't agree to a contract because he was upset, he was unhappy, wanted to leave. Nobody would pay the money, so we let him go out on loan. Jaden Braff went to St. Pauli on loan. I think that's the second season in a row. We let Mathieu Morey go to Santos Laguna for £2 million. Probably could have got a bit more money for him, but it was another one of those where we just kind of wanted the cash. Even though he's a Barcelona academy prospect, I don't think he's one of the better ones that have come out of that academy. The money came in, we took the money. It was an okay deal at the time. The next one to leave was Marius Wolf, another right back. So we kind of shed ourselves at right back. But if you remember, we signed Pembele. We did get £9 million for him, which I think is a fair amount of money. 29 years old now. Obviously can play anywhere on the right or the left, so his versatility was good for me. His pace and acceleration was also decent. But when Southampton come in with the money, we just kind of took it as it was a good deal. The next one to leave was Daniel Milan. Now, I'll be honest, this transfer actually caused quite a bit of a stir amongst the fans. It kind of divided an opinion. £30 million, I think, was a perfectly acceptable amount of money to spend. I had a clear vision of what I wanted to do in terms of the rebuild. Marlon was a player. He's 25 years old. He's probably not going to get any better, whereas we could go out and try and sign players to develop, hopefully get better players for the money that he brought in. So he's now a Juventus player. We had Colbein Big Ear Finson go out on loan to Dynamo Dresden. Raul Koenig went to Hanover on loan. Sebastian Haller went out to Fortuna Dusseldorf on loan. And Vasco Waltz went to Paderborn on loan. So we recouped £42.5 million and we went and spent 97. Starting off the spending spree was Jesus Diaz. He's Luis Diaz from Liverpool's younger brother. Plays an attacking midfielder on the right. Can also play on the left. Also play as a makeshift striker. Now, the stats seem to all be declining, but I do think he is actually developing, as daft as that sounds. He hasn't really got much game time, but we have made him available for our junior teams, both the second team and the under-19s. At the age of 20, still has some developing to do, but we managed to get him from Porto for a fair price. Paid $625,000, rising to $725,000. I think it's a really good deal. The next player to come in was Ben Grist, another one who we have tried to follow the path of going to England, picking up some of their youth players. This is one that appears on a few Wonder Kid lists out there. Obviously 19 years old, was playing for Leicester City. They have a good youth academy and can bring players through. The price itself wasn't too bad, £1.1 million. It's one of those where I think if we can get a bit of development out of him and sell him on for double the amount, it's obviously a smart move. It hits one of those club vision criterias. I think it was a sensible move. We then started needing first teamers, so we went and bought Victor Christiansen. He's a 21-year-old left back. He is Danish. I think he's going to be an absolute gem. He's another one that I've seen mentioned in a few Wonderkid lists. Stamina, pace, acceleration, his tackling's good. I think he can establish himself quite quickly as a first teamer at the club, and I think he's one of the types of players who could probably go anywhere and break into first teams. The next player we signed was Al Chadil Bichiabu, French, 19 years old, centre back. Comes in really to learn from the likes of Hummels and Sula, and then you can play alongside Schlotterbeck in future years. Has everything that you need from a player. 6'6", bit of a unit in terms of 15 stone, but he can really put himself about. He's got pace of only 11, acceleration of 10. Hopefully the other stats are all going to fill in eventually, and I think he's a sound signing anyway. Picked up a few free transfers that were released. Yannick Frischlad was the first one. You can see he's there in a Red Bull Leipzig kit. Didn't really bring him in to break the first team, but he's an option if we need a cup striker or if we need a player who we can develop and once again sell on. So you can see we picked him up for nothing. He's higher ended at £550,000, which means that if we can just get that £550,000, it's literally turning a freebie into something, and that is another thing that Dortmund seem to do quite well. And then we signed Ibrahim Digberaku. I've signed him on a previous save. I think it was the Arsenal save, so I know he can develop. Only 19 years old. He's Belgian. He, again, 6'2", 13 stone, a big unit, pace of 13, acceleration of 11, free transfer. It's one of those. It's a bit of a no-brainer. We then, in the January transfer window, went back and spent some more money at Manchester City. We signed Luis Fiorini. He starts the game off on loan at Blackpool in the first season. He's now 22 years old and Scottish, but obviously when we picked him up he was just 21. Sound in terms of what he is as a player. Whether he's going to get any better or not, I'm not too sure, but we're hoping it's one of those kinds of players where you can pick them up, develop them and move them on, signing the players for a profit. Signing for £3.7 million. Might be difficult to recoup it, but hopefully we'll have a good go at trying to get some of that money back. Joe Hugill was the next player to sign, pretty much like the other striker, Fierschlau. He's not going to be a first teamer, but he's going to be a player who can come in for cup games and we can kind of throw him in. Comes from Manchester United's academy, finishing a 14, pace of 13, acceleration of 11. Probably could do with being a little bit more rounded in his stats, but I think he has quite a good amount of potential, so it was worth the deal for £250,000. The next one we signed was Brian Broby. Now, we have heard the name Brian Broby for a couple of years on Football Manager. He's now 22 years old, but again, was 21 when we signed him. Comes from Ajax. Absolutely sound as a player, finishing a 14, pace of 13, acceleration of 14, strength of 17. He just gives us something different to Yusufa Moukoko at the top of the pitch, a bit stronger, a bit more direct. I think he's a player that really can do well at the club. Finding him first team games might be a little bit difficult though. The next player was Isaac Johannesson, another one, a 21-year-old Icelandic wonder kid. Seen pop up in these kinds of saves all the time, but what isn't there to like about him? Pace of 16, acceleration of 14, passing of 15, determination of 16, work rate, vision, it's all there. This is an absolute steal of a transfer. £15 million for Isaac Johannesson. He's either going to develop into one of the best players in the game and has to leave, or he's going to stay at the club and he's going to win trophies for us. Speaking of winning trophies, the next player is certainly going to do that too. And we signed that elite central midfielder that we were talking about at the end of the first episode. We went and bought Gavi. I couldn't believe he was available from Barcelona. We ended up paying £53 million for him. Absolute steal. Still 19 years old. Did have to put him on £200,000 a week, which was a bit above what I wanted. But look at the returns already. If we was to sell him right now, £129 million is the upper value. Could double our money almost straight away. But we're going to aim to keep him at the club because he's still developing and still getting even better as a footballer. Technique of 16, vision of 16, determination 17, decision 16. He has good pace for a midfielder, 13, acceleration of 14. He can slot in alongside Jude Bellingham, Emre Can, and our midfield looks a lot more secure when we have those three certainly in those slots. The fact we've got Gavi, who is 19, and Jude Bellingham, who is around the same age, in the same team is absolutely fantastic. So that is all the transfer business that we have done. As I said, we had £42.5 million come in. We did end up spending £97 million overall. The club did get a little financial boost at the January transfer window. Out of nowhere, we had £30 million to spend from the board, which was quite a nice addition because in the summer we only had £13 million, and it meant then that with the money that we brought in, we were able to turn it over and spend wisely. But the big question, as always, is was it wisely spent? How did we do, and how did the players fit in? Let's have a look at the competitions tab and see if it was money well spent. So the quick answer to that question is yes, it was money well spent once again, as we have retained our Bundesliga title. Just like Borussia Dortmund do in real life, when one comes, two come together, and we have won them back to back. So it's 23 or 24 that's going to show on the list. We managed to do it by 10 points from Bayern Munich, which is quite impressive once again. They have closed that gap to us though. It was 20 last season. They have now closed it to 10. But we are still champions of Germany. Looking at the other competitions, the Champions League final hasn't played yet. But if we click on that, you can see we're not in it. But we also didn't play in the Europa League. So that means that when we look at the group stages and look at all groups, you can see that we managed to qualify from our group in Group C. We had a group that included Benfica, Villarreal and Copenhagen, which is quite funny because we signed Christiansen from them. Also, I think Johansson come from there. So they ended up playing against their former team. But we qualified with 6 games played, 4 games won, didn't draw, lost 2. Had a goal difference of 11 and managed to get 12 points. You can see Adeyemi gets 3 Man of the Match awards down there. From the group stage, we went into the round of 16, where we came up against Real Madrid, and unfortunately that is where our Champions League journey ended. We lost 5-4 on aggregate to Real Madrid. So back to the DFB Pokal, we ended up winning that, so we have done a domestic double. We beat Borussia Mönchengladbach in an absolutely insane game where we won 6-4 in the final. You can see Karim Adeyemi got 4 goals in a cup final, Sula and Bellingham getting the other goals, and it was absolutely mental. But we come out on the right side of it, so it's another trophy to add to the list that we have won. And speaking of trophies that we won at the start of the season, we won the Super Cup, the DFL Super Cup, by beating Schalke, which is one of the teams that our fans want us to finish above. So I'm presuming that we really pleased them on the day that we won that. So let's look at the Bundesliga in a bit more depth then. If we go to the overview and go to the stages tab, hit the league table and mess it up completely, sort it back the way it should be. You can see we played 34, we won 26, we drew 4, we lost 4, scored an impressive 102 goals, conceded 41, 61 goal difference and 82 points. So we scored the most goals in the league. However, we did concede the most goals in the top 4. Yeah, a little bit disappointing that our defence wasn't a bit more solid. But when you're scoring 102 goals and conceding 41, it doesn't really make a difference, especially when you've won 26 out of 34 games and end on 82 points. If we look at the profile page for the competition then, bring the league table back up too, you can see that this season Yusufa Moukoko really took that step forward, scoring 29 league goals. Karim Adeyemi finished on 22. You can see Yusufa Moukoko, 8.09 average rating, Adeyemi 7.88. Jude Bellingham, 7.30 average rating. You've got Marco Reus getting 15 assists and Adeyemi getting 13. Moukoko with 9 Player of the Match awards and Adeyemi with 7. Clean sheets, let's have a little look at where Kobel is. He managed to get 10 across the season, obviously conceding 41, not many there. Tim Roth, 15.5 kilometres covered per 90 minutes. So, all in all, a fantastic season. Champions League, we got out the group stages, which was required of us. We didn't go into the Europa League this time, but we didn't progress past the round of 16. Won the DFB Pokal and won the DFL Super Cup. So, either a big trophy double or a minor trophy added on for a treble in Season 2. So after a season where we won a domestic treble, let's have a little look at the finances and what's available to us for Season 3. The overall balance at the club is now £114 million. You can see that dip that we had at the end of the first season in April 2023 did not reoccur. The money is now stabilised and is actually starting to elevate. Looking at the transfer budget, we have £44 million available to us for the third season. Wage budget is £2.5 million. We are spending 2.2. So in terms of the transfer budget, we really now have a good kitty to go out in Season 3 and start picking up those wonder kid players, and also look at developing some of the players that we have already bought in. And if we go out and sign the right wonder kids, we could add on another player like Gavi with his wages. There is enough room in the wage budget there. Let's have a run through then of the club vision page. Job security to start us off is secure now. You can see the dreaded message at the top of this screen. Board alert, takeover in process. Due to the club being in the takeover process, we have altered the 5-year plan. Until the situation has been resolved, we will hold off with setting long-term plans. So, we're going to run through it still. Board vision, club's long-term visions and expectations. So they want to work within the wage budget. We're doing that. Sign players to sell for a profit. I think we're going to achieve that. Grow the club's reputation. They're pleased with that, obviously, with us now becoming 2-time Bundesliga champions back-to-back, and also going down the path of buying and selling players that are going to bring us to the fore. I think we're going to be able to do that with no problems. Informational objectives, minimum 4-year contracts for the first team players. We are still doing that. For next season, they want us to reach the knockout stage of the Champions League, qualify for the Champions League through the league. They also want us to continue working towards becoming the most reputable team in Germany. Looking at the board then, the board feedback is a B+. The board culture, play attacking football, delighted. Develop players using the club's youth system, delighted. Play entertaining football, very pleased. Play possession football and play high tempo football are added on, and they're reserving judgment for both of them. In terms of notable highlights from the board, delighted with the positive atmosphere in the changing room. Very pleased with the 3-2 Bundesliga win over Mönchengladbach. Pleased with the 6-4 DFB Pokal win against Mönchengladbach. Criticisms, they have nothing to criticise at this stage. Let's see if the supporters are the same. So the supporters give us a B+. They want to develop players using the club youth system, delighted. Play attacking football, delighted. Sign German players, this is still one in Season 2 that is disappointing the fans. Play high tempo pressing football, delighted. Play entertaining football, reserving judgment. Finish above Schalke in the league, delighted. Qualify for the Champions League, reserving judgment. So they are pleased with the 3-2 Bundesliga win over Mönchengladbach, delighted with Adeyemi's recent performances, and delighted with Rainer's recent performances. And once again, the fans have nothing to criticise of the manager. To round us off on Season 2 then, we're going to look at the best 11. We're going to start off with the first of two different versions by looking at the Scout Report best 11. And you can see that there are a few changes now in our best 11. Kobel is the goalkeeper. Christiansen, Schlotterbeck, Sula and Pembele are our back four. We have Emre Can, Ozcan and Bellingham as a midfield three. Skelderup, Hazard and Adeyemi are our front three. A little bit surprised Hazard possibly could get pushed out. Me personally, I think that the best lineup that we could have is Adeyemi on the right, Moukoko up top, and then obviously Gavi should be in that lineup. I would take Ozcan out, maybe move Bellingham as the deep player and put Gavi in. I think that is our best three, but hey ho, it's just an opinion. Looking at the strengths and weaknesses of the team then, so top goal scorer, Yusufa Moukoko had 29 goals, but doesn't get in the best 11. Best player form, Adeyemi, 8.18 from his last 5 games. Youth prospects, we have Luke Rahman, Charles Herman and Prince Anning at the club, so 3 players to look at in the dev centre. In terms of handling for the goalkeepers, aerial reach, goalkeeper depth, defensive depth, and the wage budget are all strengths. There are some others there too. Weaknesses: tackling, long throws, natural fitness, overall depth, marking, penalties, command of area, rushing out tendency, goals against, crossing, heading, and off the ball. So the big one there, 25 of the 52 assists conceded in the last 50 matches have come from through balls, which means that obviously our back four are not picking those balls up. If we look at the other version of the report, then the best 11, you can see Gregor Kobel, Christiansen, Schlotterbeck, Sewell, Pembele. Then you've got Emre Can, Ozcan and Bellingham, Skelderup, Hazard and Adeyemi. Looking at the purple players, you've got Zacharias as goalkeeper, Roth, Mane, Bitshiabu, Azizi. You've got Florian Yu, Chidibe, Semestin, Raul Koenig, Nauf and Makoko. So a new couple of names there. I believe the midfield 3 have all come from the youth intake. Then you've got Bitshiabu, who is one of our signings. Makoko, obviously, I think should be in the first team anyway. So, looking at it now, we've got Gavi in. I think he should be in the midfield. I think the midfield 3 is pretty much sorted. We might need another centre-back. Right wing, I think Hazard should come out and Adeyemi should go in there. So maybe we'll look at another winger or 2. And maybe we need to shore up at the top. Although Makoko has started turning into the goal machine that we all know that he is. Right then, that is season 2 complete. We have once again won the Bundesliga. We have won the DFB Pokal and the DFL Super Cup. So a fantastic second season. And we, in the next episode, are going to push on to season 3. Right, if you're still with me at this point of the video, firstly, a big thank you. I really do appreciate everybody who takes their time to support the channel. Really means a lot to me. Also helps me to get the videos out to so many other people. The growth on the channel has been fantastic. Cannot thank you all enough. Before you go though, don't forget, check out the rest of the channel. There is other things such as hints and tips, Wonder Kids, Let's Plays, tactics videos, a little bit of something for everybody on the channel right here. But for this one, I'm going to wrap it there. A big thank you for watching today. I'll see you on the next episode of the Borussia Dortmund Rebuild.